Hi, Assalamualaikum, and a very good afternoon to all of you. So, we are now live streaming for English section, English SPM, Paper 1, Section B, 1119/1. Okay, um, before we go on, let me introduce myself first. Okay, my name is Mr. Muhammad Shafiq bin Abdul Aziz, and I am an English teacher from SMK Mata Air Perlis. Okay, um, I'm still waiting to have students in so that we can proceed. Okay, let's give 1 or 2 minutes for them to log in to the Google Meet platform so that I can see you and we can have a two-way communication later when we are discussing this. Okay, all right, now all you need to do today is to pay attention to the slides that I'm sharing with you. And also, if you have any question, you can raise your hand, you can ask question. It's not going to be a problem. I'll stop and then we discuss, okay? All right, now, we are still waiting for students to join us, okay, on the Google Meet platform. Okay, all right. Now, we are going to proceed with today's session. Okay, like I told you, it's going to be Paper 1, Section B, Narrative Essay. Okay, so I put it down here as a powerful introduction and sensory writing. Okay, now, if you want to make sure people read your essay, you have to start from the top. You have to make sure that you can grasp their attention so that they can continue to listen to you, so that they can continue to read your story. So this is what we're trying to do today, okay? So let's have a look at the first slide here. Okay, now, this is the link and also the barcode for you to scan for your registration, okay? So you can scan, you can go to the link, and then you can click on your registration for today's session, all right? Moving on. Okay, an introduction. To me, an introduction is a hook. What is a hook? Okay, I have a picture to share with you. All right, now, this is a hook. This is a fishing hook. What do you do with that? Okay, you put bait on it and then you wait for the fish to eat the bait, okay? To take the bait. All right, now with this hook, actually, it is the first start where people will grab whatever that you're trying to say in essays. But if you are fishing, your bait needs to be delicious and then very welcoming so that all the fish will go and try to get the bait. All right, so this is also the same thing with essay. You need to have a very good introduction. Welcome to those who just joined us. Okay, all right, let's move on. Okay, now there are 3 ways that I'm going to share with you today on how to start writing a narrative essay. Okay, very simple. Before we proceed, narrative is actually a story. And then, to be honest, you know, when I ask a lot of students, they would say they prefer to write narrative essay instead of others such as factual essays and what is the other one that is quite difficult? That you have to compare, okay? So argumentative essay, that's the one that students would always avoid to answer. But to me, if you are someone who's with fact all the time, factual essay and argumentative essay are the types of essay that you should go for. All right, now, these are the 3 ways that you need to pay attention to. The first one is a dialogue or a sound. Okay, this means when you start your essay, it should start with a dialogue right away. All right, a sound perhaps right away. The very first line that you write, you use these as your opening instead of the very cliche ones such as it was a clear blue sky day that day. So that was very cliche. Everybody could start that way. If your story is about going on a holiday, well, your opening could be with a dialogue, something to go with, "Mom, where is my passport? I'm running late to get to the airport." I shouted at the top of my lung, asking for my passport from my mom. That's how you start with a dialogue. Okay, now let's have a look at the second one, all right? A shocking fact or the truth, all right? When you write a narrative essay, okay, before writing it, you should come up with a storyline. You should come up with your plan, what to write in the first paragraph, what to write in the second paragraph, all the way to the end in the conclusion, the resolution part, okay? Now, if you start with a shocking fact, you start with a fact that gives a shock to people. Something to do with the essay that you're writing. Okay, going back to the example that I gave to you just now, going on a holiday, what could be a shocking fact? All right, so perhaps you say, "I'm terrified of flying on an aeroplane." Well, that's a shocking fact and the truth. All right, instead of saying it was holiday, I wanted to go for a holiday, I bought a flight ticket a couple of months ago, and now it was time for me to leave. I felt so scared. Well, that was typical and cliche. You could start with that shocking fact, saying that you're scared of flying. Okay? All right, now let's move on to the third way on how to write, how to start a writing narrative. Okay, climax or ending as the opening. Now, this one, the technique that we need to use here is flashback, okay? Which means you bring the climax to the top or the ending to the top. Only then you go way back on how the story started at first, initially. Okay? These are the three ways, and I'm going to share with you the examples that I have. I will also be asking you questions, okay? So that I will also be asking you to give me examples so that I know that you're with me, and then you can give me examples, all right? So let's move on and look at what are the examples that I have for you. Okay, I'm going to give you the question first, okay? Write about an unforgettable experience that had changed someone you know. End your story with, "This will always be a story I tell over and over again." Right, now, if you're looking at the question, you need to understand that this type of question has already given you the situation in the question. That means you cannot memorize any essay and rewrite the essay in your examination. You have to follow what the situation is and write about it. So this one, you have to write about unforgettable experience, okay? And then this experience had changed someone you know. Right. This is quite simple because you have to end this with the sentence that is given. "This will always be a story I tell over and over again." Okay. I have already come up with a storyline, and we're going to look at that later. But this question came from Modul Pintasan Selangor 2019. Okay, so I took the question from that trial paper from Selangor. So let's have a look at the storyline that I have, that we're going to write today. Okay. This would be a story about a burglar who broke into the house, okay? First person point of view. You are the one experiencing this in the story, okay? There were just my mother, my little brother, and me. Okay, maybe you could put those two in the first paragraph. Next, had to hide and told mother that I had to do something, okay? Because obviously you were the eldest and you couldn't just let your mom and little brother be afraid of the stranger who's in your house, who just broke into your house. Okay, and then you went downstairs and you got attacked by the burglar. Okay, so I went downstairs and I was attacked by the burglar. Okay, police came because the neighbors heard noises and called for help. All right, this is typical, but I want you to add a twist to the story. Okay, let's look at the next bullet. Got the shock of my life after realizing who the culprit was. Okay, this line here is the one that answers the question, change someone you know. Okay, the whole story was the experience, and then this line here, you have to make it clear in the essay. This is the one that answers the question, change someone you know. Okay. And then you could not believe it and at all, even after learning the truth. You knew the truth, but you still could not believe the truth. Okay, so this is the storyline. Before we go, I want to go on and talk about sensory writing first. Okay, now we know that when we write essays, we want people to see what we see in the essay, to taste what we taste in the essay, to feel what we feel in the essay. For example, okay, in my mind now, I have a guy standing outside the house. Okay, this guy has long hair and he wears short pants with pink t-shirt. Okay, that's the guy that I'm seeing in my mind now. So what I wrote down in my essay was, that day there was a guy standing outside my house. You as the reader, would you be able to see the person that I just described to you? You could not, right? So this is why sensory writing is important. You need to write the small details of the things or people in the essay based on what you yourself want them to see or feel. All right? Okay. An experience I would tell people over and over again. Okay, that should be the ending. Right. Let's try and give the examples based on the question earlier, all right? To start our essay with dialogue or sound. Okay. Mom, I'm very, very scared. My little brother screamed at the top of his lungs. If you were the reader, would you continue reading the story? This is how the story starts. Okay, so basically, if this is how story starts, I would definitely continue reading at least half of it, but if it captures my attention more and more, I will keep reading till the end. Okay, because the way you start it is already very shocking. Okay, it starts with your little brother being scared, and obviously you want to know why he is scared. Okay, now that's for dialogue. Any one of you would like to try and give me a dialogue based on the story? All right, if you want to write it down, you can write it down. If you want to say something, you can just say something, okay? No problem at all, okay? Take your time and then give it a shot. Okay, now let's move on to sound. Right, there you have it. Bang! The loud sound of the glass shattering in the kitchen alerted us that something was not right in there, okay? This is not supposed to be there. Okay. Again, the loud sound of the glass shattering in the kitchen alerted us that something was not right in there. So that's how you start. There was a sound in the kitchen, right? Remember our story, a burglar broke into your house. So you start off your essay with a sound, bang. All right, maybe the burglar wasn't that smart. He broke the glass and he alerted you. Well, perhaps a drunk burglar, who knows? Okay, all right, now how to start with a shocking truth or fact. All right, I have it here. That night, I had an uneasy feeling. I was storm-tossed and wind-battered with great fear. I had a pit in my stomach and I could smell a rat. My mind rained me with an endless string of emotions. Anxiety and trepidation were wallowing my thoughts. Okay? That is a shocking truth and the fact about what you were experiencing that night. Now, if you look at this, it's very detailed, okay? So this is what I want this is what I want to focus on. If you write something, you have to make sure that you put in the sensory writing in it. For example, here, uneasy feeling, okay? Sense of feeling. You can feel uneasy. What the writer is feeling, you can feel it too. Okay? I was storm-tossed and wind-battered with great fear. Okay? In a simple language, you can say, I was extremely scared. But you put it in the words that would make people feel more. The storm-tossed here, this one gave you the idea that the wind was blowing so strong. It was blowing the fear to you. You could feel the fear in the wind, okay? Storm-tossed and wind-battered with great fear. All right. You also had a pit in your stomach. It's like when you knew something wasn't right, you felt something down there, okay? So this is what the writer is saying here. All right. Now, that's a shocking truth or fact to start off your essay. Let's move on to the next one. Climax or ending as the intro. Okay, like I said, here we are using flashback technique. Okay, we are flashing back to how it all started. Okay, this is one of the ways that would make your essay a lot better, especially narrative essays. Okay, let's have a look at this one. The deep, painful cavity inside of me screamed for relief. Tears of sorrow started coursing down my mom's cheeks. She was blubbering and sobbing as hard as she could. It was an intense moment for our family. It all started earlier that night. Okay, now the last line in the first paragraph here is going to tell you that you started with a climax or an ending to your own story, right? Later on, when you continue from how the story started towards the end, you do not need to repeat this ending again. Well, you could start with something else, right? Okay, so climax or ending as the intro, fine? Any questions so far? Okay, so if there's no question, I'm going to move on and look at the sensory writing before we really go on and break down the paragraph by paragraph. Okay, at school, I always ask my students, what are the senses that we have as human beings, okay? Now, the very first one that is very important is a sense of seeing. That means you can see things, all right? So when you see things, you see colors, you see shapes, you see all those things that are tangible to you. Okay, so when we use sensory writing with a sense of seeing, you write something that people can see. For example, table. There are many shapes of tables, right? Now, this table that I'm using now, if I just say, I'm sitting next to a table, you see a table, but you cannot see the shape of the table. So you add in the adjective to give the sense of seeing, that you can see the table, right? I'm sitting next to a square table. Can you see the table? Well, in your mind, you see a square table because you add in a very simple adjective, square. So that gives the idea that you want people to see what you see in your own essay. Okay? All right, moving on. We have the sense of touching. All right? So, I put my hand on the table. It was hard. Okay? It was a hard wood used to build the table, right? So I put my hand on the table. It was hard. Okay? So you give the idea that when you touch the table is hard. Okay? When you touch something soft, and then it's soft, you give that idea to people in your essay. Right? So when we read, we can touch the thing in our mind through reading. Okay? So that is why sensory writing is important. Okay? Now, let's look at the third sense. Feeling and tasting. This is the most important part. Okay? Feeling. Because you want people to feel whatever that you feel. For example, I was scared. As simple as that. But that one, everybody can do that, okay? So, feeling and tasting here, I'll give you the example later in the essay so that you can see how this is actually written down for you to feel that could make you sad, really, really sad, okay? Next, we have a sense of hearing, okay? So, in the example that I gave earlier, remember the word bang? Okay. A loud noise was heard of glasses shattering in the kitchen. That is actually sensory writing for sense of sound. You could hear the glass shatter. You could hear that it was loud. Okay? So write those down in your essays to make sure that people hear what you want them to hear, not just you yourself. Okay. And then the last one, we have sense of smelling. Okay, now this is when you use all the adjectives that will give you the idea of something smells nice, something smells bad, something stinks, or something is fragrant. All right, I love roses. It smells nice. How nice is nice? So find an adjective to replace nice. Roses are all fragrant. Okay, to replace nice, you can use the word fragrant. Okay, so that is sensory writing. All these 5 things should be well incorporated in your essay. Right, let's have a look at the first paragraph of the story that we are writing today. Okay, my bad, sorry. Before we move on, I'm going to look at the example for sensory writing, okay? And then if you can, you tell me what sen that is, the sentence that I'm going to show you, okay? All right, here we go. The sparkly sea splashes up onto the sandy beach. Okay, we have this idea here, sparkly sea. We have this idea, splashes, okay, and then we have this idea, sandy beach. All right, now, sparkly sea and sandy beach. What are the senses that you can, what are the senses that are used here in the sentence? Anyone? Okay. So the first one, sparkly sea, is the sense of seeing. Okay, you can see that the sea is sparkling. Okay, and then sandy beach, you can see it. Can you feel sandy beach? You can touch it, you can feel it, right? Because it's sand and because it's sandy, and then when you step on it, it's soft. So you can see the beach is sandy, and then you can also feel that the beach is soft with sand. Okay, all right, the next line. The sand spreads across the beach like millions of tiny grains of salt. covered by shells, the sea randomly washed up over the years. Okay. The sand spreads across the beach like millions of tiny grains of salt. Now you can picture that throughout the sea, okay, along the sea, you can see tiny grains of sand that is as small as salt. That's a lot, yeah? Okay, covered by shells, the sea randomly washed up over the years. Okay, over the years, when the sea washes up to the shore, it brings with it shells. And they are there. They became fossils on the shores. Okay, there is the sense of seeing. You can see shells on the seashore. Okay, this is not a tongue twister. All right, now one is striped like a zebra with blue. Again, sense of seeing. Another one is a sunset colored pink, orange, and cream. That is also a sense of seeing. Okay, now we are moving on to the essay that we are writing today. All right. Let's go to paragraph 1. Can you remember the story just now? In paragraph 1, a burglar broke into your house, and then it was just you, your mother, and your little brother. Okay. That night, I had an uneasy feeling. I was storm-tossed and wind-battered with great fear. I had a pit in my stomach, and I could smell a rat. My mind rained me with an endless string of emotions. Now, from here, what is it that we use to start the essay? A dialogue, a shocking truth, or a climax? Okay, it is a shocking truth, a fact. Okay, anxiety and trepidation were wallowing my thoughts. Now, anxiety, trepidation. Trepidation means great fear, right? Fear of something. When you are in a great fear, you are having trepidation. Okay. Anxiety and trepidation were wallowing my thoughts. So your thoughts are all surrounded by anxiety and trepidation. And then also we put in here the dialogue. Okay, the one that I connected from the first example that I gave you earlier. Mom, I'm very, very, very scared. Okay? My little brother screamed at the top of his lungs. We all knew that a stranger managed to break into our house that night. Right? So here, you started off by telling us that a stranger broke into your house, a burglar. Okay? And then you were all very scared. To make matters worse, due to the power blackout, our house was in total darkness. Right. Our house was in total darkness. That should be a sense of seeing. Okay, you could see that. Our hearts were palpitating stronger than ever. Okay, palpitating stronger than ever. Right. Palpitating means beating rapidly. When you are very scared, you put your hand on your heart, okay, and then you can feel that it's beating really, really fast. So you can use the word palpitate, okay? And our hearts were palpitating stronger than ever. What kind of sense used here? Seeing? Tasting? Hearing? Can you hear your heart beating? You yourself, you can hear it. So there is a sense of feeling. Okay? Let's continue the story. Okay. My head was throbbing viciously with the thought that my family was in great hazard. Throbbing viciously. Sense of? Again, feeling. You could feel that your head was throbbing. Okay, viciously means very, very mean, like it makes you hurt a lot, yeah, throbbing viciously, with the thought that my family was in great hazard, was in great danger. Okay. I could hear the sound of his footsteps. You're telling your mom and your little brother, okay? I muttered to my mom. We use the word muttered here because, remember, you were hiding with your family, all right? You did not want the stranger to realize or to know where you were, so you just muttered sentences to your mom. You're not screaming, you are not talking loud, okay? You were kind of like whispering a little bit. Okay, we were in such a scurry that even fear managed to beat out our exhaustion. Okay, this part here, if you are trying to understand it, fear managed to beat out our exhaustion. Now, if you are very, very scared, let's say a wolf is chasing after you, okay? You are very, very scared and you are tired. Which one wins? You being scared or you being tired? Okay? Because if you stop running, if you're exhausted and you stop running, the wolf would definitely get to you. So this is when fear managed to beat out our exhaustion. So because you're scared, you keep running and running and running. Okay? So this sentence you can use to say that because you're scared, you don't care about being tired, being exhausted anymore. All right, let's continue. Second paragraph. Okay. We made our way upstairs to hide ourselves as we knew that the burglar was on the first floor. Okay, so you knew that the burglar was in your house in the first floor, so you went up to the second floor. Now let's see if we can find any sense here, sense of seeing for sense-free writing. We made our way upstairs to hide ourselves as we knew that the burglar was on the first floor. Okay, now the burglar was on the first floor. Sense of seeing, okay? I was really frightened as I had never encountered such a horrifying experience before. Frightened, sense of feeling. I had never encountered such a horrifying experience before. My father was not at home that night. He had to work extra time at his office. Okay. Moving on. It was up to my mother, my little brother, and I to survive the grueling, panic-stricken night. Okay. Pay attention to grueling, panic-stricken night. Okay, you're talking about the night, but you are making the night panic-stricken, right? The word panic-stricken here is, if you want to use it as an adjective, you use it as panic-stricken. But if you want to use it as a verb, you use the word panic. He panicked. He was panic-stricken, or he was panicking. Okay, grueling, panic-stricken night. So the night was really, really mean. Okay, it was grueling, and then you were panicking. All right. It was like the National Purge Day. Now, have you ever watched the movie? If you haven't, well, if you have free time, go and watch it. Then you get the idea how scared you'd be when you are watching the National Purge Day. Okay, so here the writer is using a connotation to this story to connect the idea that he was that scared, just like how people were in the Purge, the National Purge Day movie. Okay, all right. Again, it was like the National Purge Day that I had watched in the theater a few months ago, or perhaps I was over-exaggerating. Okay, so this one gives you the idea that this writer is actually over-exaggerating sense of feeling. Okay, let's move on to the third paragraph. All of a sudden, I made a bold decision to pick up a wooden baseball bat. Okay. You could simply say to pick up a baseball bat, but you want people to see that it's not just a baseball bat. It's not a steel baseball bat. It's a wooden baseball bat. So you add in an adjective there, wooden, to make it clearer that this is a wooden baseball bat instead of just baseball bat. I told Mom that I was going downstairs and to unleash a vicious assault. Okay? It's a bad attack on the burglar who was daring enough to break into our house. Okay? So that means you are a very, very brave young man. You want to go down there and you want to take down the burglar who broke into your house. All right, that's great. But don't try that, okay? If you are in that kind of danger, do get help. If you have communication over there, you can just call for help, okay? Don't deal the situation on your own. It might not turn out pretty. All right, let's move on with the third paragraph. I will make sure that he will pay the price. Okay, this is a proverb used here. He will pay the price. What does it mean? Anyone? Okay. Pay the price means suffer the consequence. If you do something bad, you know that you're going to get caught. You are ready, okay, to accept whatever punishment that you're going to get. So you pay the price, right? I will make sure that he will pay the price. I told my mom and my little brother confidently. I was certainly aplomb, okay? Sense of feeling. Why? What is the meaning of the word aplomb, everyone? Aplomb means confident. Yeah? If you don't want to use the word confident, you can use the word aplomb. I'm feeling very aplomb today to go online and meet my students. Okay. All right, let's continue. I composed myself with courage and audacity. All right. You know courage and audacity? It means the willingness to take bold risk. You know that it's very risky, but you make the decision to take on the risk. So you have the audacity, right? As I made myself downstairs, I tried as hard as I could to avoid making any loud noises. Yeah. Now, avoid making any loud noises. Sense of hearing, okay? Because you do not hear loud voices. There is a sense of hearing that. All right, now, continue with paragraph 3. I carefully orchestrated my way to the kitchen. Right, look. Carefully orchestrated. So you planned your walking to the kitchen. You did not just walk down to the kitchen right away. So you orchestrated it. Okay? Sheer dreariness started enshrouding my empty soul, debilitating my gut. Okay. I want you to make some changes here. The word dreadiness here, let's use the word dread. Okay? So, sheer dread started enshrouding. Okay, what is enshrouding, everyone? You can use enshrouding to replace the word enveloped. Okay, wrap, enshrouding. Okay? Sheer dread started enshrouding my empty soul, debilitating my gut. Okay, we use the word sheer to give the emphasis For example, you can use the word complete, you can use the word pure, okay, to emphasize the word dread. All right, it's not just dread, it's a sheer dread. If you talk about the word beauty, it's not just beauty, it's sheer beauty. You give the emphasis on the word beauty. Okay, so here the word dread is used. Sheer dread, pure dread started enveloping my empty soul, debilitating my gut. Okay, debilitating here is weakening. All right, weakening. All right, so at first, remember, you were very, very courageous and you had the audacity to come down. But once you are down there, sheer dread enshrouded you completely, debilitating your gut. Debilitating is weakening your gut. You had the gut earlier, but your gut got a little less than how it started at first. Okay, obviously because you knew you were on the same floor with the burglar now. Okay, it was like I was in one of those Hunger Games. Again, this is also a movie depicted in your essay. Well, if you know the movie, you can just quote the idea from the movie and put it in your essay. As long as people can try and, if people have watched the movie, they would definitely get the idea that you're giving here, right? It was like I was in one of those Hunger Games and I had to survive that night, which seemed to be an eternity. Seemed to be an eternity. All right, that should be a sense of what? Seeing or feeling again? Sense of feeling. Because eternity, forever, you could feel it. All right, let's continue. Paragraph 3. Out of thin air, okay? This saying is used if you don't want to use the word suddenly. You can use out of thin air, out of the blue, okay? These are the sayings that you can use. Out of thin air, someone brutally choked my neck. He slammed me onto a wooden table, causing it to break in half. He slammed me onto a wooden table. Sense of feeling or seeing? There is a sense of seeing. You could see that someone is slamming someone else onto a wooden table, causing it to break in half. There is also a sense of seeing. Right. My back was in severe pain. Okay. Extreme pain. Sense of? Do you touch it? Do you feel it? Do you hear it? Sense of feeling. Okay. You can feel the pain. Severe pain. Extreme pain. Right. He then whacked me on the head with some wicked stripes. Whacked me on the head. If you can already see what's happening there, you can already feel that it's very painful. Somebody whacked your head with something. Even you get whacked with a hand at the back of your head, it's already very painful. Imagine, getting whacked at the back of your head with metal things like a bat or something. Okay? He then whacked me on the head with some wicked stripes. He was certainly a cold-blooded man. Okay? Let's underline this word here. Cold-blooded. What does it mean? You have no sympathy for others. You do not care for others. You are very cold-blooded. Okay? Obviously, to hit someone is not what we're supposed to do. Imagine hitting a person again and again. That is really bad. So the word cold-blooded here is very accurate. Right, let's continue. I tried to scream for help, but my effort was to no avail. Okay? I tried to scream for help, but my effort was to no avail. Right? To no avail here means unsuccessful. Right? You tried to scream, nobody could hear you, or perhaps maybe they wouldn't dare to come and help out yet. Right? That's why it was to no avail. Okay. He covered my mouth with his right palm. You see how detailed this is? You can see it. You can feel it. You know, just put yourself in the persona's shoe, okay? Imagine that it's really happening to you, and then someone is covering your mouth with his right palm. Okay? So it says here, right palm. So you can actually know that this is how it's going, okay, with the right hand covering your mouth. So that is actually very vivid, very clear for you to see. That's a very good way of writing things down. Okay. He covered my mouth with his right palm, and I started to become unconscious. Okay. Sense of unconscious? Tasting? Feeling? You can't feel anything, you are unconscious. Okay? You fainted. So there is a sense of feeling. Right. Blood started oozing from a wound in my scalp. That hurts, yeah? Blood started oozing from a wound in my scalp. Okay. A wound in my scalp here is a sense of seeing. Blood started oozing. When something oozes, you see or you feel? You can see it, you can feel it ooze. Okay? I was viciously assaulted by him. Viciously assaulted. Alright? So, no mercy. Okay, let's see. Our fourth paragraph. Out of the blue. Okay, earlier we used out of thin air. Now we use out of the blue. The tintinnabulation of the doorbell. Okay, I like this word. Tintinnabulation of the doorbell. Tintinnabulation here means ringing. Okay, whatever ringing sound, you can use the word tintinnabulation. Okay, whatever ringing sound like the bell, the doorbell, the alarm, you can use the word the tintinnabulation. The tintinnabulation of my alarm woke me up that morning. So use this word. Well, it is a married word. Of the doorbell started piercing through the house, permeating the tense atmosphere. Okay. Piercing through the house. Sense of hearing. Tintinnabulation, sense of hearing. Permeating the tense atmosphere. Permeating here is spreading. Okay, it's spreading through the tense atmosphere. Well, because it was just you and the burglar, all right? And then suddenly there was a ringing sound on the door. Obviously, the situation was really, really tense. And then the burglar definitely got the shock of his life too, I believe. Okay. The man tried to hide his figure, but as luck would have it, the light started to recur. Okay. Now, this is why you need to have a very strong storyline, because you can connect your story well. In the first paragraph earlier, we wrote that the house blacked out, right? Now, the light started to recur. So, that gave you the idea that the blackout was not natural. It was not a misfunctioning thing, okay? Somebody blacked out your house so that the person could burglarize your house. So now, coming to this paragraph, you remember to say that the light started to recur. So it's all very cohesive, your essay so far, all right? So the lights were back on. Let's see what we have. Unexpected, unbelievable, and certainly inconceivable. Okay, so you can use these to emphasize that you are really, really shocked, that you cannot believe what your eyes are seeing, that you cannot comprehend the truth that is actually happening in front of you. So you can repeat words, different words with the same meaning to give that emphasis. That is also allowed in a good essay. Unexpected, unbelievable, and certainly inconceivable. I was gobsmacked when I saw the man. Okay? Gobsmacked here means surprised. When I saw the man, it was my father. Huh? Over here, this is another tip that I'm giving you. A twist. Okay, you put a twist to make sure that your story is interesting until the end. All right, so that you do not make the reader feel bored while reading your essay, because they are reading it, they want to know more and more, and now they are thinking that they know actually what's going to happen in the end. So let's not give them that satisfaction. You give a twist to it so that they get another shock. They cannot just jump to the conclusion the way they think they know, but you, as the writer, you give a twist so that the reader would feel like, okay, I didn't expect that to happen. So this is another tip that you can use in your essay. Add in a twist. Who would have guessed, who would have thought that the burglar would be the father? Okay? It was my father. What just transpired was certainly unacceptable. Yes, obviously you could not accept the fact that your own father burglarized your own house and he terrified you, your mom, and your little brother. But why did he do that? Okay, that would go into answering the question, change someone you know. Because you know your dad is your dad, but now you see him as a villain. You see him as a bad guy. So you have already answered the question there. All right? Okay. I was dumbfounded and no words could express my feelings. Okay. Dumbfounded. Okay? If you don't want to use this word, you can use other words like I was speechless. Okay? I was shocked, easier, but dumbfounded is the best here. And no words could express my feelings. How could you express? How could you feel anything when you saw your father as the bad guy in the house? Right. Let's continue with paragraph 4. I was in great bewilderment. Okay, bewilderment is still, okay, shocking. I was perplexed and puzzled, confused. The word perplexed here is confused. You can use the word bewilderment, okay? Because you couldn't believe it, you were in bewilderment. I was perplexed and puzzled by the situation. The police then went inside my house. They arrested my father. My heart was stabbed and solved into small fragments of agony. Okay, I'm going to underline this one right here. My heart was stabbed and solved into small fragments of agony. Okay? This one is sense of feeling. and seeing. But if you look at this through seeing sense of writing, you would know that this is a metaphor, right? Because you can't really do this, but this is how you write. You put in metaphorically speaking, and then you get the idea that your heart was tapped and solved into small fragments of agony to give the idea that you were very, very, very sad. I was in great angst. Okay? Angst here is deep anxiety. You're very, very nervous, clueless. Okay. All right. Still with paragraph 4 here. I could not believe what just happened. The police told me that my father was involved in drugs few months ago. He was an alcoholic and he never told us, and he never told our family. Okay, with this one, I think there should be a dialogue coming up next. Okay, do we see any sense of seeing, any sense of feeling anywhere in the text here? I could not believe what just happened. The police told me that my father was involved in drugs few months ago. He was an alcoholic. Okay. Sense of seeing. And he never told our family. All right. Moving on. He made excuses of returning home late in the night. All right. Before we continue, I want you to point out one error in that sentence. Can you find it? Tense error. Okay, so it's here. All right? So he, singular, you should have S. Okay? He makes excuses of returning home late in the night as he is dealing with the drug dealers. He has no money to pay them anymore, and he decided to rob your house. Well, that was really a twist. All right? Your father robbed your house, burglarized your house because he was dealing with drugs and he had no money. So he burglarized your house, your own house, to get the money. That's a big twist there. All right. The policeman told me in a hoarse voice. Okay? Husky, deep voice. All right. Now, let's go to the last paragraph, paragraph 5. Okay. The deep, painful cavity inside of me screamed for relief. Deep, painful cavity. Okay. This is not literally speaking, okay? So this is metaphorically speaking. The deep, painful cavity, okay? A painful cavity inside of you screamed for relief, okay? That one is because you knew that everything was going to be okay because the police came. But you are still in angst to know that the burglar was your dad. So this is actually sense of feeling. Tears of sorrow started coursing down my mom's cheeks. Okay, coursing down my mom's cheeks. Now, that is a sense of feeling or seeing. There is more towards seeing, okay? If you put down warm tears of sorrow, then you'd get the idea of a sense of feeling, okay? Warm. She was blubbering and sobbing as hard as she could. Blubbering, sobbing. These are the words to say that you cry really, really hard. That you are screaming in pain, crying. You use the word blubber and sobbing. Okay, right, continue paragraph 5. It was an intense moment for our family. I was badly injured due to my father's action. He knew he was attacking you. Badly injured, sense of seeing and sense of feeling. I could not find any source of solace as thick fog of bitterness, anguish, and misery started to press into my chest. Okay. Thick fog of bitterness, anguish, and misery started to press into my chest. All right? It's like you are suffocating now. You cannot breathe because this bitterness, anguish, and misery, they are pressing hard on your chest. Make it harder for you to actually breathe. Okay? So this is sense of feeling, right? Metaphorically speaking as well. Okay. Let's continue. Terror was shivering down my spine that night as I knew my father was no longer with us. Terror was shivering down my spine. Shivering down my spine. Okay? Sense of feeling. As I knew my father was no longer with us. I was traumatized of the incident. Sense of feeling, traumatized. As I could not believe my father would do such a thing. Okay. All right. This is the last part of the paragraph 5. My world came to a complete halt. Okay. This means stop. As my father was sent to jail. That night was an unforgettable night indeed. So, the question was an unforgettable experience. Okay, that night was obviously the experience. So you answered that question, and then change someone you knew that was your father. Okay, that horrifying yet crestfallen experience. Crestfallen. You use this word to talk about shame, to talk about humiliation. Okay. That horrifying yet crestfallen experience would always continue to evoke my reverie as I said to myself, I love my father, but I can't forgive what he did. So this will always be a story I tell over and over again. All right. So you have answered the question completely. All right. The first part you needed to answer was an experience. Okay. This whole thing was an experience. Okay. Happened in just one night. Second part would be change someone you knew. That is your father in the story. Okay. You realize that he wasn't the father that you knew all your life. Okay. He told you guys that he went out working, but he was actually involved in drugs and he was an alcoholic. You only knew later when the police came to the house and told you the whole thing. All right. So that answered the part where you should talk about change someone you knew. And last but not least, you should end your essay with this will always be a story I tell over and over again. All right. I know it might be bad for you to tell this personal story, but for the sake of not wanting this to happen to anyone else, you tell the story over and over again. Okay? Maybe you don't mention your dad, but you tell the story over and over again. All right. Now, I'm going to do some recap here before we finish our session today. All right. Okay. All right, let's go back up. Okay. Okay, hold on. Give me a second. All right, here. 3 ways on how to start writing a narrative. Okay, so we learned earlier, you can use a dialogue, you can use a sound, okay, and then you can also use a shocking fact or truth, and then you can also use climax or ending as the opening. So here, this part right here, okay, this part right here, the technique is flashback. Okay, make sure if you start with the climax, you go back to the beginning of your story in the second paragraph perhaps. Yeah, if you start with the ending, with the resolution, you go back all the way to the top to start your essay. All right, so these are the 3 ways. So this was the questions now. Okay, I'm gonna go to the dialogue part. Okay, so we have done this earlier. You write a dialogue to open your story. Okay, so like I gave you earlier, story about you going on a holiday. So you can start the dialogue with the dialogue. You can start the essay with the dialogue that says, "Mom, I need my passport. My flight is leaving soon. I scream at the top of my lungs looking for my passport." Okay, so, and then only you continue with the story. Okay, there is dialogue. Okay, and this is sound. Okay, just to recap, a shocking fact or truth, you say something that is really, really shocking about your story that would make people want to continue to read, instead of just starting your story with last year, 2 years ago. You just gave the starting fact. I almost died. That's how you start your essay. I almost died. If I were the person reading the essay, I would want to know, why did you say you almost died? So that is a shocking truth, and then that is very hooking. It will hook the reader up to keep reading your story. Okay, this was the one that we shared earlier. And then climax or ending as the intro, the flashback part just now. Okay, so whenever you use the resolution or the climax, always continue with "it all started with," or you can start it that way. It all started with that unforgettable incident 2 weeks ago. Then you start your story from the beginning. Okay, because you have let us know the climax. Now you just want to give us how it started. Okay, the beginning of your story. Okay, another part that you need to focus on would be this one right here. Okay, the sensory writing. Okay, there are 5 of them. So when you write things, make sure people can see what you see, people can touch what you touch, people can feel what you feel or taste what you taste, people can hear what you hear, and people can smell what you smell. Okay? All right, so I believe that would be all for our session today. And 1 second. Okay, if you have any question, well, you can ask now. Okay, if there's no question, I wish you the very best of luck. But before that, I want to share with you one quotation. Again, if you haven't registered for your involvement today, you can scan the barcode or you can click on the link to register. Right. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. Mahatma Gandhi. Okay? What has this got to do with English? Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. So I'm relating this to English, and this is what we have. Enjoy living in the moment, but remember that learning English will prepare you for the future. Why? Because even now, if you are not paying attention to English, it's hard on you, to place an order, perhaps at Starbucks or even at McDonald's now. You need to use English language. Okay? So that is why you can still enjoy your life, but you still need to prepare yourself with English for the future. The world is changing, and then knowing your own mother tongue is not going to be enough now. It's good, but you need more than that. So you need to be bilingual, at least English. Okay? So with that, I guess, #09educators, that will be the end for my session today. And thank you so much for joining. I'll see you guys when I see you guys to SPM Candidate 2020. I wish you the very best of luck. May the Lady Luck smile upon you all the time you are sitting for the examination. With that, I thank you and have a pleasant day. Assalamualaikum.